When it comes to the grand universe of Marvel Comics, it's undeniable that in modern times, Iron Man has become incredibly iconic due to the MCU. It goes without saying that when people think of the Avengers, there's a pretty high chance that Tony Stark is going to be one of, if not the very first character that pops in their heads. So I figured to start rolling out more videos dedicated to individual characters, the Golden Avenger would be a solid place to start. Thanks for clicking on the video, and if you like what you see, then check out the other stuff I have on the channel and subscribe for more in the future. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the discussion. Now when it comes to any video breaking down a character's stats, the one category that can't be ignored are characters' overall combat speeds. And when it comes to Tony Stark and one of his armors, it's frankly absurd how impressive he is just by looking at some of his outdated feats. I touched on it briefly in my Invincible vs Avengers video, which I recommend checking out, but just to go into a little bit more detail, within Iron Man's Rogues Gallery is a villain known as the Living Laser, a guy who is literally made of light and uses the beams he projects and his light speed movement to fight against Tony. Tony in their battle was able to react to the laser's attacks several times, where it's even stated in one instance that his armors are indeed capable of reacting to the attacks thrown his way, and that the only reason why they're landing is because of Tony struggling from injuries he sustained prior to them fighting. The reason why this is so important is that this feat occurred all the way back in the 90s, making him have a benchmark of FTL speeds. But because Tony is an engineer and scientist who is always improving his tech, this showing isn't very impressive compared to what he did to the laser in 2012. Tony is able to blast the laser away with a repulsor so fast that they weren't able to even react to it. But it's way more embarrassing for the laser when you realize that this is one of Tony's stealth suits, which is literally stated to not specialize in combat, and only has 10% of the normal output Tony packs into the repulsors of his more combative armors. But to reiterate one more time, this is not current Tony. The fact that Tony can consistently outpace and even blitz the Living Laser, as well as having other feats such as keeping pace with other high tier Avengers, and even able to keep up with the Sentry who could fly to the sun in just a couple seconds, will put Iron Man well into the massively faster than light weight class as just a benchmark for the overall scaling of his regular armors. It will only get higher as he continues to evolve his tech and use even more powerful suits compared to his casual base armors. Moving on to his durability, again this is just another instance of his base armors casually being capable of extraordinary feats most people are unaware of. Tony has been able to take attacks from Magneto, who was able to hit Iron Man with the force of the sun when channeling the magnetic energy from it. This is also impressive since Magneto literally states that he reaches out to the cosmos to further increase the force it strikes by using the energy of whatever planet that is within his reach. Depending on how far you think Magneto expanded his magnetic powers, this can expand to withstanding solar system all the way to galaxy or even multi-galaxy levels of force. Outdated versions of his armors have allowed him to take hits from the likes of a pissed off Thor not holding back, and enrage Captain Marvel directly with her strikes, as well as creating shields that she can't even penetrate through, and of course having run-ins with different variations of the Hulk, all of which have numerous feats scaling above what Magneto was shown doing prior. He has tanked attacks from Avengers 1 million BC, which included a younger version of Odin, as well as the Phoenix Force, and has fought off and tanked attacks from arguably the most bloodthirsty of Galactus' heralds, Terrax. Needless to say, you could easily put Iron Man's regular armors in the Galaxy weight class at the minimum, but he can scale much higher in the Universal Plus tiers given the myriad of opponents he's faced off against. And to wrap up his scaling before jumping into some of Tony's strongest armors, we're tackling his AP. Iron Man was capable of siphoning the magnetic field of Jupiter and side Magneto with it. He's able to injure the likes of Captain Marvel on a consistent basis with outdated armor, and is capable of fighting against the City Slayer of the Ashen Combine, each member possessing a threat to multiple high-class Avengers. He has punched through a sphere composed of iron, vibranium, and adamantium alloy, and being able to handily 1v1 and defeat Terrax is insanely impressive, especially given the fact that Terrax is still relative to the other heralds of Galactus like Silver Surfer and Firelord, and was boxing with Thor and Savage She-Hulk not too far from when Tony performed this feat. Just like with his durability section, it's really not far-fetched to put the standard armors of Iron Man in those universal tiers of strength, but now that we've established a baseline to really gain a grasp of what Tony Stark is capable of, it's time to talk about Iron Man's current loadout and some of the strongest armors he's ever wielded that puts everything we've talked about so far to shame. Now that we've covered our bases with Tony's outdated feats with his older base armors, we can finally transition to talking about Iron Man's strongest armors, starting with his current base suit, Mark 72, the Mysterium armor. I can't stress enough to you that if Iron Man enters a 1v1 with somebody wearing this armor, best believe he really doesn't like them. As far as Tony's base armors go, this thing is overpowered. The armor is made from the metal Mysterium, which originates inside the White Hot Room, the domain of the Phoenix Force in the Marvel Comics that exists outside of Marvel's multiverse. This metal is way better than Wolverine's adamantium, due to the fact that Captain Marvel, trying her best, couldn't even get the metal to bend a little bit, and Doctor Strange, with all his magical prowess, couldn't cast a spell to affect it, literally saying he tried to atomize it, and the metal doesn't register to Spider-Man's spider sense, meaning if you have characters with equal or worse precognition than the spider sense, you won't be able to anticipate this dude's attacks at all. Tony literally got stabbed with adamantium claws and they bent on impact. Mind you, Wolverine has slammed his claws against Mjolnir and it didn't put a dent in it. And despite the insane durability of this thing, its main purpose is for piling his Sentinel Buster suit, which he states is his most powerful armor to date, which is quite telling when looking at Iron Man's resume, considering he created the Phoenix Killer armor, which first off, I don't even know how a person even creates something designed to kill the primordial embodiment of life itself, but Tony gave it his best shot, and although he wasn't able to kill it, the fact that he is credited with splitting the Phoenix Force into the Phoenix 5 really speaks volumes, because again, the Phoenix is an outer-versal entity. He may not have killed it, but crafting a weapon that can even affect it is just flat out insane. On a few occasions as well, Tony has been able to scrap with literal Celestials using his God Killer Mark II armor, which again, consistently scales Tony in the outer-versal weight class, even if he isn't completely on their level. But this isn't even his only time doing something like this, because he has straight up hijacked the Celestial's body during the King in Black storyline, and during the Banners of War event, took the body of a dead Celestial and turned it into arguably the strongest Hulkbuster ever crafted at the time of recording. The fact that it could even damage the Hulk, someone who can break the chains that's strong enough to hold down eternity itself again, speaks volumes. Another outer-versal feat. Another armor on this list is his Godbuster armor, and gee, I wonder what exactly this one does. If your guess was killing reality-bending gods, you'd be 100% right. Unfortunately, this armor didn't get to stay for too long because Iron Man believed it to be so powerful, it shouldn't even exist in the real world, so he ends up destroying it and actively refuses to attempt to make another one. And to close, our final entry on this list isn't really an armor Iron Man created, but I'd be playing wrong if I didn't mention the time that Tony gained full access to the Power Cosmic and became the Iron God. And this version of Tony is by far the most cracked we've ever seen him. Simply put, the Iron God was such a threat to the entirety of Marvel Comics that some of the strongest cosmic entities, including the Living Tribunal, Eternity, and even Oblivion, had to pull up on him to get him to stop acting out. There was virtually nothing this version of Iron Man couldn't do. Reality warping would generally be putting it lightly. And after going over everything, it's truly insane just how far Tony's ceiling really is. We've seen this guy go from a clunky metal suit to creating some of the strongest armors and weapons crafted in fiction. Facing off against gods has become a calculated and probable scenario for one of the greatest minds in the Marvel Universe. Without a doubt, Iron Man is one of the most versatile and adaptable characters and continues to be one of the Avengers' heaviest hitters. And that about wraps things up. I really did enjoy creating this breakdown. Given all the variations of armors Iron Man has, I thought it would be fun to dissect how strong a character like him really is. If you like what you see, then please consider subscribing for more in the future and check out the other videos I have on the channel. Also, let me know what characters you'd want to see get their own dedicated video. I got a few choices in mind already, but I have no problem hearing out any suggestions that might pique my interest. I hope you all have a great day and please stay safe. Peace.